Hills Center for Spiritual Living. This is the Wednesday night service that is usually our beloved Wayne McDonald, but he is in service to his partner today, and their hospital visit was more than he could handle, so he's not here tonight. So I happened to be here, and I called on Reverend Nancy, said, come on, let's do this. So here we are. All right.
So here we are.
So our call to service at the Granada Hills Center is called Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from that one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. As Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. She's redecorating. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the 10th candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for this space we are holding for them here at this center, online, and in our hearts, as Reverend Mike would say. As Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love, which includes all those people that are on the lay ministry of prayer who have requested spiritual mind treatment this week. And as we begin with everything, an opening treatment, spiritual mind treatment is like a benediction. If you have never been to the Center for Spiritual Living before, it's a way of setting the tone for the evening. And Reverend Nancy will do the honors.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender. I surrender. I trust in God.
And I do trust this divine presence, that which created all things. I trust it too, because it has brought together these souls this evening to sharing a heartfelt understanding of where we are with the spiritual presence that is in us, through us, and as us. As we know and understand that that infinite intelligence is always available to us, we allow it to bring forth that which is in our hearts this evening. We allow ourselves to understand and appreciate that we are willing vessels through which the infinite intelligence can bring a clearer explanation, not only for ourselves, but for someone else. So in this wondrous experience of knowing and understanding our own individual awareness of the truth, each one of us are enriched because each soul brings us a uniqueness to the awareness, to the understanding that this divine presence is always given to us by giving through us. So we accept that this is our truth. We accept that that wondrous presence is guiding us this evening. And we join together unitedly in accepting that this is already so, as we sing. And so it is.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So we do this as a discussion group on Wednesday nights. We have a couple of new people here tonight. So I just wanted to kind of give you the groundwork of what we do here. Nancy and I used to conduct these Wednesday nights 20 years ago. We started in 1995 doing them, and sometimes we would have maybe 20, 25 people. We would move all the chairs at that time and make a big circle. They weren't all hooked together like they are now. And they were orange, by the way. And we donated them to the Unity Church of Hemet, California. And I'm pleased to say they're still using those chairs in their fellowship hall for their meals that they have there. It's no coincidence that my sister Donna was the minister there, so interesting how things get passed around. She was trained in the Science of Mind, but when she and her husband moved back to Canada, Science of Mind was not a recognized religion in Canada. And so their nonprofit status was at issue. And so they aligned with Unity. And she took the training at Unity Village in wherever that is, Kansas, somewhere, Kansas City, in Missouri, somewhere. And she was there for a week's intensive. She had her oral panels, and then she was an ordained Unity minister too. So she was religious science and Unity, and most of the classes she taught were religious science, but under the umbrella of the Unity Church. So, yes. So, that being said, we're using a book called Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And this book contains probably the most pages is the one we have for tonight, is 6 pages in the book. It's usually 2 or 3 pages. And they're short enough where if you have 10 minutes, you can read something and get something out of it. So Nancy picked Belief, Faith, and Prayer tonight for our topic. And I went ahead and highlighted the parts that I really wanted to talk about, but they didn't photocopy on your pages for whatever reason. We weren't using a color copier to print them out. So you'll have to follow my lead when I say, would you like to start reading, Kathy, the second paragraph? Can you use the, Rosalie, could you give her the microphone?
Since it's 3 pages, maybe we can read the whole thing.
Well, if we're doing 3 pages, we'll read the whole thing. Never mind. Kathy, would you like to start with the paragraph that says, or start from the top and read that first paragraph?
Okay. Belief, faith, and prayer. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise them up. James 5:15. What then is the prayer of faith? Jesus clearly taught that spiritual power works through man at a level of his belief, implying that it would work as he believed and while he believed. He ascribed a mighty power to belief and to faith. and we find that throughout the ages, faith has been honored. Most certainly, some people's prayers have been answered, but not all persons' prayers have been answered in the way that they wish them to be answered.
Okay, so I'm going to stop Kathy right there. For people who are new, Ernest Holmes was writing this in the 50s and the 40s. So he was not intended to be a commentary on his being not politically correct, because we weren't talking about that kind of stuff. Some of what he's written has been changed to gender neutral and using we or I as someplace to be inclusive. Well, humankind instead of mankind, that sort of thing, yes, absolutely. Thank you for that reminder. So when you hear he, I actually, when I teach class, I translate everything. As I'm reading something from the textbook or from another, something that he has written in the 50s, I will use the first person plural, we, so that it feels more inclusive. But that was, that, if you like, that would be very nice. That's the languaging of the day. If you want to change it to we, an hour, then that's terrific. That's really terrific. Okay.
And I would like to say that it's up to each individual. If you want to change it, change it. If you don't want to change it, don't change it.
Yes, there you go. Good. Thank you, Kathy.
My brain still works in the 50s, so I don't have any problem.
Well, and you're also a he. Yes, so that would stand to reason that you wouldn't have a problem. That makes sense.
I want to pass the mic to.
Maybe she wants to read one more paragraph.
No.
No, because we're only going to do 3 pages tonight.
Go
This
ahead.
is deep stuff in the last 3 pages. And Renzen doesn't want to stay here until 9 o'clock. So we haven't asked him, but I know he likes to go home. So I'd like to go home too at some point. All right. Tell your name when you speak, so the people who are new know who you are.
My name is Rose.
Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome.
The second paragraph.
How are we going to account for the fact that one person's prayers are answered and another's are not? Must we admit that there are degrees in which prayers are answered? And if so, why? Is one man's faith better than another's? Is God more pleased with one man's petition than another's?
Read the next part too, it's short.
It seems a pretty tough problem until we understand what Jesus meant when he said, "Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee."
Yes, yes. All right, Rosalie.
What he did imply, he is talking about God.
Yeah.
He's actually talking about Jesus there, I think.
Okay, Jesus implied that it was done unto us by the same impersonal principle, the principle which knows neither Jew nor Gentile, but knows only its own ability to do. It will do as quickly for one as another. The law is no respect of person, but greater alike for each and all.
But works alike for each.
Sorry. It works
Pass
alike.
that on. I forgot to say.
Rita,
Rita. Okay.
Jesus not only
I'll
said,
put the
"So be it."
microphone up. It's being recorded. So-
Jesus not only said, "So it be done unto thee," he said, "As thou hast believed." The impersonal law, which is the actor, does it unto us, but only as we believe. Immediately we recognize our old friend, the law of cause and effect. It is done unto us as we believe. And if we can believe only a little, then only what we call a little is done. But if we believe in what the consensus of human opinion has called a lot, then a lot is done. Not that there is a big or little in the truth, but what we measure it. Well, did the great teacher say, "With what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again." It is done unto us, but only as we believe.
Nice. And you don't have to speak if you don't want to, but pass the microphone down for the next paragraph on the following page. There you go. The lighting
Oh,
is
yeah, you
really
can just
bad in here, I think. Oh. What is belief?
Hi, I'm David. What is
Hi.
belief?
Hi, David.
Hello. Most surely, belief is a certain way of thinking. It is an activity of consciousness. Belief is a thing of thought, and being a thing of thought, we can change belief. And it is what a man believes decides what is going to happen to him. The most important thing for him to do is regulate his beliefs so that what happens will be good for him, and he will be glad to have it happen and joyously welcome it.
Okay, would you take the microphone down to this end then? Thank you.
Emily? No, Emily.
What is most likely to change our belief from a negative to a positive viewpoint? What thought, what hope, what expression, what stimulus is most likely to change our belief? This Jesus established in the Sermon on the Mount when he said that the meek shall inherit the earth, that the peacemakers shall be called the children of God. In other statements, he showed us how to reform our belief so that it could partake of the nature of reality and would contain within itself everything necessary for our well-being. This is also what the apostle meant when he said that we should think on whatsoever things are good, true, and beautiful.
Okay.
Faith is an affirmative mode of thought. Faith says, I can, rather than I cannot, or I shall not. We can learn to have faith in abundance rather than in poverty. We can change our thought in regard to lack. This is what treatment is for. Instead of saying, there's not enough good to go around, we say, all the power there is devoted to my good. I am not afraid of poverty because all the power there is devoted to giving me abundance. God provides me with every good thing today, every day, always. Such statements as these will change our belief from denial to one of positive faith. Whatever we can have faith in and having faith in can understand, we may experience according to the law of cause and effect. This law is immutable, invariable, unassailable, and absolute.
But someone might ask, is faith in lack equal to faith in abundance? The answer to this question is that there is neither lack nor abundance. As such, there is merely what is and the way it works. We are so constituted that faith in love overcomes a belief in hate. Our nature is such that faith in life destroys our fear of death. Our nature is such that faith routs all fear all along the line. The great affirmations of life must, of necessity, destroy their apparent opposites. Nevertheless, we cannot overlook the fact that all statements are positive, all statements are affirmations, since each is a statement of one's belief in something.
Nice.
What's that? Page.
Mine too. Oh, you want me to do yours? Okay, should I continue?
Sure, please.
Right here is where prayer comes in, and of course, we are thinking of prayer in its broadest connotation and its most realistic meaning. We are thinking of prayer as a communion of the soul with the oversoul, with a divine creative presence, which is not only in the soul, but which is the soul. It is more than an individualization. It is also a universality. Is that right? Yes. Universality.
Okay, Rita, thank you.
Prayer in its truest sense is not a petition, not a supplication, not a wail of despair. It is rather an alignment, a unifying process which takes place in the mind as it reaches to its divine self and to that power which is greater than human understanding. In the act of such prayerful and reverent communion with God, one senses the unity of good, the completeness of life, and at times the veil of doubt is lifted and the face of reality appears. This consciousness, which has been referred to as the secret place of the Most High, is an experience rising out of the conviction that God is all there is, beside whom there is none else.
Prayer then is communion, and this communion pronounced life to be good. Prayerful communion ascends to that place where unity has not yet become variety, where the uniform one is ready to take any specific shape. In this act of communion, the individual becomes can partner with the eternal and gives birth to time, space, and conditions.
But what could Jesus have meant when he referred to fasting in connection with prayer? It seems evident that he was not necessarily referring to a physical fact. For one of the accusations laid against him was that he drank wine with sinners. I've done that a few times in my life. He was also accused of breaking the Sabbath by permitting his disciples to pluck corn on the Sabbath day. In fact, he seemed to disregard many of the outward forms which were common in his day. He referred to some deeper principle which physical fasting was intended to symbolize. So we'll stop there for this week and go back to the first page, please. And Reverend Nancy, I want you to give some kind of explanation as how we're going to account for the fact that one person's prayers are answered and another one's might not be answered.
I think that would be the third paragraph.
Yes? Well, sort of.
Sort of.
Second paragraph, yeah.
Yeah. It is the consciousness of the person, not necessarily the words or the saying. It's the consciousness of belief and the faith that the person has. So it's not distinguished because all individuals has the ability to have the faith or have that consciousness. But some has faith and some don't. And some areas we have more faith than we do in another. Some people believe in spirit as health, whereas some may believe that financial abundance. So their faith may be demonstrated more readily in the health, or one may be in another area. But it's usually the belief and the consciousness of the person. And each one.
So would you say that it has to do with the person's receptivity?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, yeah.
If you praying for another person, if a person is open and receptive, that in that place of receptivity, that prayer could work for that person. But if that person doesn't have a sense of receptivity and they're still not ready to let it happen, then that would be the consciousness of a person that's not receiving it, not ready to receive it. And sometimes it takes a few months for a person to relax and allow that to happen. Yeah, David.
It seems to me that there's a really big difference for me if I'm going, oh, please, 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 versus me actually stating exactly what I want and the way it will be. It seems to have a big determination on the results.
Yes.
Yeah, that staying Asking and stating is what you're speaking on.
yes.
Yeah, because if we claim it and we embrace the idea, then we have the belief, the faith that that's going to happen.
I think the power is out there to react to you and give you what you want if you are stating in no indefinite terms exactly what you want and that this is how it's going to be.
But you still have to have that level of receptivity to create a demonstration in your life or a manifestation in our lives. So when I was first a minister here at Granada Hills, when I was pastor of the center, I had a fellow come to me probably 2 or 3 times for the same issue. And it had to do with what I didn't realize at the time, that his father was very ill and he was expecting a large inheritance. But his father decided to rally. And so he kept asking me to treat for financial abundance in his life, to pray for financial abundance. And I said, you know, the thing is, we can't say how it's going to happen because how is up to God, right? Well, his father died 3 years later. And in the meantime, he came to me and he said I was a terrible practitioner because he didn't demonstrate in his life. He did not, that I was terrible at praying for him because I didn't, as though praying were magic of some kind, right? And I had to do almost a first-year class with him to be able to get him to understand that it was his receptivity to the spiritual mind treatment or the affirmative prayer as much as it was my ability to speak to that desire on his part. So it's interesting when, you know, he says in here, as Nancy said, it's conscious, it isn't in here, but you said it, it's consciousness. Consciousness is everything. Do I have the consciousness of receptivity? Am I the relationship I would like to be in? Do I have a thought of wealth and abundance, financial abundance in my life? Do I think I deserve to have the best paying job? And do I deserve health and vitality? You know, you can't go your whole life smoking and drinking and eating awful food and then expect, you know, to live to be 110. Or maybe not, Yeah.
I'm going to throw that one out.
Okay, we should go throw that one out.
I'm gonna
So-
throw that-
so-
and I'm going to tell you why I'm
yeah.
throwing that out. And the belief system is
Yes.
more powerful than any of the physicalities out here. Your belief system and your faith. Because what we're dependent on is that divine presence, because that wholeness of life is already in existence. And it is already what we are ready to embrace. And as soon as we are, to the extent that we can embrace it, that's why some people, when you say that they don't have a receptivity, I've seen people that didn't have the receptivity, but as soon as they forgot about it and left it alone, that power of the Spirit brought that into their experience because they did have this heart's desire.
Well, what did they have to do first?
They got out of the way because they forgot about it.
Yeah.
They got their consciousness of doubt,
Absolutely.
of hesitation out of the way.
And they surrendered.
Yeah, and surrendered to
Not,
the
maybe not consciously.
yeah. You know, that's what I was going to say. Sometimes it isn't consciously, but your heart's desire is the key thing, and your imagination of knowing what you really want. But it's usually the limitation, it's the thinking that we got, the consciousness that we put between that good that makes the difference.
Yeah.
Of whether it happens or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that if I forget about it, because I have had things happen. I remember I was in a class in New York, and I had all these things I wanted. I wasn't getting them. I moved to California, and somehow, 2 years later, I opened the book and I looked at that list, and everything on that list had come true, but it never did happen back there. But I had put it away, let it go, but I was focused on spirit itself. And so once I got that doubt and that hesitation out of the way, then it was able to flow into my experience. But I was still.
So I have a
in that
similar story to that. About probably 15 years into my ministry here, my kids decided that for their dad's 70th birthday, they wanted to redo the mat. We own a house together, and he lives in that house. I live separately from him. And they wanted to redecorate the master bedroom in the house. And so we were going to get new bedding, new curtains, you know, the whole 9 yards. But first we had to clean the place. And it had not been, the underneath the bed had not been vacuumed or dusted. I'm kidding you, I'm not kidding you. 15 years. Guess what was under the bed? A treasure map that I had done when we were still married. And Heather yelled at me. I was making lunch for everybody. She yells at me from the bedroom, Mom, you have to come in and see what I found. This is amazing. Everything on that treasure map had come to fruition. Every single thing. I had no idea where that treasure map was. My consciousness of receptivity was in total surrender, because once I turned in the treasure map, I was finished, right? I was done. The how was up to God, and everything that was on that map had manifested. Yes? What do you mean by a treasure map? It's like what's another name? Vision board. It's like a vision board. Yes, exactly. And there were the 4 quadrants: health, relationships, money, and job. And things that I wanted to experience, to be a published author. And I was the editorial coordinator for an in-house magazine that we had, Creative Thought. And I wrote an article in there every month. I was a published author. And it was not what I thought I want, like the Great American Novel or something like that. But it still demonstrated. I'd gone on a cruise. I'd been to Hawaii. I mean, it was just, you would have just loved to see the whole thing. Yes.
So in your opinion,
Microphone?
in your opinion, is the dividing line on this for each and every one of us where our personal consciousness is?
Absolutely. Robert Bitzer, who used to be at the Hollywood Church of Religious Science, said, consciousness is everything. And he would say that at every sermon, setting the tone for him to give a talk about our consciousness of receptivity, our consciousness of faith, our consciousness of belief, our consciousness of effective prayer. It's inherent within us. You know, prayer is only effective if I believe in the prayer. It's not that prayer really changes anything in the physical realm, but it changes what I think about what's going on in the physical realm.
Is it anything on that first page that hit that was significant to any of you? Yeah. What about the law is no respecter of person, but works alike for each and all? Is that a belief that any of you, do you believe that's true?
How about if you change the law to God for just general purposes? That God is no respecter of persons, but only works alike for each and all. Would that make it more understandable?
I don't know. I don't know. Law of God.
Pass the microphone down to Emily, please. Thank you, or give it to her. Thank you.
And in this case, they're talking about the law in terms of prayer, the law of how our prayer works. So I think if you change it to prayer is no respecter
No.
of person.
No,
That's not?
no, that is not what that means. Not to say that it couldn't mean that, but in this case, what Ernest Holmes is talking about, we release our prayer to the law, and the law then takes it. We surrender it to the law, and the law, or God, is the how. The law is the how of how it shows up in our lives. Yes?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
And I think some people, from a different cultural point of view, might also say karma is no respecter of people. The law is similar to, as you, it is done unto you as you do, or as it is, as you believe. In
Yes,
that
so
regard,
karma is just a Sanskrit word for cause and effect.
right? So
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
but we are caused to our own effect on this earthly plane, on this time and this space. It's not from karma from a previous life.
I agree.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes that gets tangled up a little bit, especially with people who came from the Vedic tradition or Hinduism, because they firmly believe in karmic debt from a previous life experience. So, yeah. Okay, good point. Thank you.
you.
That's great.
Before we move on, we're talking about faith.
Eddie, can you take the microphone? It's intimidating, but we are recording.
Yeah, and
We're not going to make you stand up in front of the camera, though, so that's at least
Okay.
good, right?
yeah,
I didn't know we were recording. But anyway, back to the faith. I was sitting in my kitchen, in my dining room, and me and this woman were talking. And when we were done talking, she touched my hand. And she told me, "You're not going anywhere. You're connected." I knew what the hell she was talking about. She was talking about faith, spirituality. That's what she was talking about. And there's a saying about faith. You never know what faith is until that's the only thing you have in your hand. And then let's see what you're going to do. How are you going to jump? How are you going to dance? And that's important, to be connected. Because if I wasn't connected, I wouldn't understand anything you guys were saying. I'd be in left field,
Yeah.
thinking you guys were in left field.
Yes.
And then it makes me think, because we're talking about beliefs and values, about how it gets corrupted in the household when we're little.
Yes.
oh, yeah.
Man, let me tell you, unbelievable. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Well, that's a lot. We could have a whole hour on that. We don't have enough time to do that, but let me just say this. When I first came, I was raised in the Catholic Church. When I first came to the Science of Mind, I thought they were speaking a different language. I didn't understand. I didn't understand cause and effect. I had a good finger out here that said, "Eddie, you're responsible. I feel bad. You hurt me." No, I feel hurt by what was said, not that you did anything to me. And that first kingdom of consciousness is the victim consciousness. And we learned that a little bit in Catholicism. I would not give up my time with the nuns for all the money in the world. They were beautiful people sent from heaven to guide me and direct me in certain ways. But when I was about 12 years old, I finally decided I'm just going to have to keep quiet because I do not align with what this thinking is. And when I left the Catholic Church when I was 18, my dad was incredibly sad because French Canadian Catholic, that was a tough one for them. But when he realized, when I started sending him material about 10 years before he passed away, he said, "This is a good thing you're doing. This is a good thing. I'm proud of you." He didn't hear that too much from my parents in my generation. So there you go. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Next, cause and effect. Do we want to go into that a little bit more or go to the next page? On page 42, right in the middle of the page, Nancy, faith. Let's go to faith real quick here.
No, what are we going to say about faith? I thought that this sentence, we can learn to have faith in abundance rather than poverty. We can change our thought in regard to lack. you know, when we were talking about that faith, and I totally agree with you, because where we determine what we have faith in. But if we have faith in one way or the other, you may have faith that something bad is going to happen to you, and you are giving it much energy. That's the power of our consciousness. People that have faith they can believe that they don't have the power to change their life, and something is going to happen. So you can have a belief in the opposite direction. I don't know, it's a belief more so than a faith.
Yes, should I tell him my old joke?
Yeah.
I tell it all the time. I probably already told it already on a Wednesday night. But the difference between belief and faith. So you're at the circus and you see this guy pushing a wheelbarrow across the high wire, right? You believe unequivocally that he's going to get from one side to the other without either dropping the wheelbarrow or falling off. Now, faith would be getting in the wheelbarrow and letting him push you across. That's the difference between faith and belief. Okay, now you know my joke. I made that up myself. I'm taking credit for it. So that's what Nancy always loves that joke. I probably say it in every class I've ever taught. Never heard it before. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And you've taken every class I've ever taught. Yes, you have. All right.
But I think that when we talk about faith, and faith, what we have faith in, what is it that we have faith in? And now, I think that that's what he's really trying to get us to understand, that faith is that belief, that divine presence. And I'm going to take it just a little further. It's not just that there is a divine presence, that the presence is here.
Yeah.
Right here. And it's not only here, but here for absolutely everybody. There is nobody that it isn't available to. And to the extent that we can embrace that, we embrace ourselves. Is that how you say it? To the extent we can embrace ourselves as we the divine creation of the Spirit, that faith, that is where we get into that realm of having trust that the faith that the divine is going to take care of me, in the sense of the divine is my health, divine is my supply, divine is my source for all good that I'm looking for. So
what about treating and moving my feet? I don't get to sit on the couch and think that Prince Charming is going to come knocking on my door.
Yeah, now, I think that when you have faith, you find that, at least my take on this, and I'm going to tell you, whatever I see up here is my take on it. When I have faith, I don't see anything about faith having you to just sit and not do anything.
Yeah.
Now, faith means that you're going to try to make it happen. It's because once you try to make it, you've taken it out of spiritual hands and put it on the human realm of making things work. So when you have faith, you allow yourself to take whatever steps that's in front of you, because it's almost like the step is almost irresistible. Mm-hmm. You've been pulled towards it. So you do whatever is in front. So you have the energy, the motivation, and the drive to do what is necessary that is in front of you. But faith is that you don't believe that just because you stepped over here, that it's not going to happen. Faith is that you can step over here and get back on that path, and it's there, because you know that the delivery is coming out of that divine presence.
There's a difference between making it happen and letting it happen. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Take the microphone.
Emily and I have had a variety of things happen where we've been talking about something in jest or even not in jest, and of something negative, and it ends up manifesting. And we've found that the law really doesn't judge with what you're putting in, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If you put it out there into play, it can end up
Yeah.
surprising
The
you and
subconscious
happening.
mind cannot take a joke.
That's what
Yes.
I mean by it's all consciousness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
You
Yes.
know, the front of the T-shirt should read, "What are you thinking? What am I thinking?" And the back of the T-shirt would say, "Subconscious mind can't take a joke," you know?
Thank you. I was just going to ask, because I thought this was meaningful. So what did you decide to do about that, David?
This is Emily.
Isn't she cute?
Yeah, she is cute. She's calling you, she's calling you.
out.
She's calling you out.
Well, I would do different things than just here and there. And it
Yes.
has given me a little bit more of a heads up to watch what you're actually putting out there.
Yes.
Because it really can surprise you. And I think my tires and such on my car has been one of those things where I, had something uneventful happening from something stupid that I said.
Yes, well, I think we all do that. And having children, when you're raising them in the science of mind, and all of a sudden I say something in the car that I shouldn't say, and I forget that there's a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old sitting in the back, and all of a sudden my 5-year-old son says, "Well, Mom, that's not very spiritual." So, it's like, I love you, and call me on my stuff,
Just out of curiosity, does writing down what you're looking for, in your opinion, a better way at times than just doing treatment?
Oh, absolutely. You know what that is? That's the neurolinguistics. It goes from the head to the heart through the hand. I'm not typing it on a computer, but using a handwritten note. If you write your affirmations, handwrite your affirmations, you're creating a neurological effect. And sometimes the logical mind likes that kind of stuff. It likes to see it in print. And it's so remarkable to me to think that Ernest Holmes, in his wisdom, would leave anything out that would be helpful in creating a real honest-to-goodness demonstration. It's not about, we used to have this thing that we went to years ago where everybody would affirm what they have. And one of the women who was in the group did not understand that we were affirming it as though we already had it, right? She did not understand the concept. And after the one meeting was over, the woman's mother came to her and said, "Jeannie, how can you tell people that I have a beautiful condo on the Pacific Ocean? You live in a house in Granada Hills, for God's sake. You were lying." Well, she didn't understand the concept of affirmation. But affirmations in and of themselves don't change anything in the physical reality. But for that 2 or 5 seconds that you're saying the affirmation, you can't think a negative thought. That's the one really good thing about that. So we could go on and on and on. We've got about 6 minutes. What brilliant statement from page 43 are you wanting to bring into
From
it?
43?
Wait, is that the last, where we
That's the
start?
last page.
Yeah, then that would be the one. About prayer.
How about prayer?
How about prayer? Let's give definitions for prayer. Not the kind of prayer that we used to do in Hail Mary, full of grace, help me find a parking space. Yeah,
Prayer is one of the things you're affirming the truth.
yes,
And that's what you are. And it's an affirmative, positive statement of truth. If we know the power of the consciousness that is in each one of us, this is where if we make that statement from that place, then that is that sense of affirmation. You're affirming the positive. And I think that most of us, I don't know, Anybody here that wasn't raised in religious science, you come in traditional, I was raised in a Methodist church. We were asking for stuff, and instead of affirming the stuff. But if you look at people, our teachers of history, including people like Jesus, they affirm. And in that affirmation, the truth was demonstrated. So and most of our teachers of history have always told us that we need to affirm stuff, but somehow, I guess just society itself has taught us that we have to ask, and as David was saying earlier, please ask. So when you go to that, one of the things that you are affirming is that you don't have faith that it's going to happen. If you state that it's going to happen in your prayer, then that's demonstrating your faith that the spiritual presence is going to bring it to you.
So, just as an interesting sideline, tell me what faith tradition you were raised in.
Catholic.
Yes. David.
Catholic.
Oh, yes.
Catholic.
Yes.
Catholic,
Episcopalian.
Almost Catholic.
Guess which one?
Catholic.
Congregationalists.
Oh, good for you. That's why you're so enlightened.
Now that's a new.
Emily.
Yeah, well, I was raised in this, but also Lutheran because of the school I went to. So I had to.
Yeah,
got
come in,
both.
but you were raised
got
basically.
Yeah, this. So
Religious.
from the time I was 5, my mom
And
was doing
Chloe.
this. Yes, same.
The only one raised in religious science
Yeah,
in the
you
room.
totally.
Yeah.
I used to go to Agape for a long time, and then when I found out that I knew Emma's mom since then, and then I came here, and since my mom was a practitioner at this center, and I wanted to come, so I came here, and Mike got me inspired by going to teen camp, so that's why I've been coming here ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, now look at how old you are. My gosh. That means
Can,
I'm that old.
can
too.
I ask?
Yes.
I,
David.
I'm curious. Oh, we only got 2 minutes. Can you give anybody have anything that they wanted to add to this? Because we that they read, they heard, that they can share with us. Just share something.
Did or didn't resonate
Didn't resonate.
First of all, I'd like to know how you found us, Rita.
well, I've always driven by and wondered, oh, thank you. I've always driven by and wondered what this was about.
Yes.
And one of his friends attends this in Camarillo, I
Oh.
believe. He started attending and he kept
Pleasant
going.
Valley or the Camarillo Church?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he lives
There's
in.
2 CSLs in Pleasant Valley.
Oh, okay, one of those. And so we decided to check it out.
I'm so glad.
I was walking by, I knocked on the door because I thought it was 12-step stuff that
Yes.
you guys were selling.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so the man
Put
opened
your
the
put
door.
a
the
lot of us
microphone
here.
up.
So the man opened the door and the guy came in and he wrote a book.
Oh, that was Reverend Myers.
That's the
And
pastor.
Reverend-
That's
yeah.
the
Minister of the
pastor of
church.
the church.
And he gave me a book.
Yeah.
And I said, I might come by and check this out.
Well,
But
did you read the book?
Some of it,
Well, I'll tell you what, that's him to a T.
I figured
Yes,
that.
yes. And there's a few of us in recovery here. We have an AA Big Book study on Thursday nights in the back here. And we have a regular open meeting on Friday night here as well, speaker meeting.
One thing on the faith part, that like when you have that you could be dying and you're still gonna be a service
Yes,
and you're still gonna be thinking of others.
yes.
That's what's a trip about.
Dr. Fletcher Harding said one time some of the most spiritual people he's ever met are on their deathbed. Because they've done it all.
Yeah, but I mean, that faith can helps you let go of the fear. Death is not something to fear. And it also will give you the support and to walk through many doors that you wouldn't walk through.
So let me just tell you, Reverend Nancy and I will be back on the last Wednesday of the month to do the same thing, and we'll finish up this chapter that we were on. Sunday services are at 9 o'clock and 10:30. Reverend Mike speaks at the 10:30 service. He is back after recovering from a little cancer surgery that he had, and he's back in good form.
Yes.
And so to really get a feeling of the presence of the people here, come to a service sometime. We have wonderful musicians on Sunday and really good people on the AV team. Thank you, Renzen. Thank you, Renzen, so much. Anything else we need to do before we close out?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
You know, one of the things one of the reasons why we have this is that we want to encourage others to say where you are, because where you are, you might be just what that person needs to hear.
Yeah.
You know, whether the person is trying to figure something out and they have this question, each one of us is a gift. And your soul is a gift to mankind, humankind. And so we read these things, and the whole idea of the discussion is for us to share where our hearts are in understanding the spiritual path. And because all of us are on the spiritual path, all of us are. So we want to understand where it is. And it doesn't matter, actually, it doesn't matter what religion you are. Where are you on this path? And so if we share where we are, you don't know what soul, and this is also online, so you don't know what soul you have just handed an answer to.
Yeah.
And I have to say, thank you for bringing up the idea of faith, because I think that right now in our society, that is a very key thing. We're looking for what we have faith in, what we believe in, what we understand. So come back and talk about it and share whatever understanding you have.
So I'm going to close us out with a little treatment. Anybody have anything particular they want to include in the treatment? Yes? Yes? Yes, I'll cover it all. How's that? Okay? All right, if you'll join me in consciousness and go to that perfect place of peace within. As always, that space that knows nothing about anything other than that pure essence of spirit, knowing that we are one in mind with that pure essence of spirit. It is the holy place within each one of us. It is the soul energy of who we are that moves out in consciousness so that everyone knows who we are even before we've opened our mouths. And so tonight I know that this group, this illustrious group, as Reverend Nancy said, is here because someone needed to hear what you said, what you read, what you feel, because that is how we communicate energetically with other people. And so I know as we travel to our homes in safety and in good order, we know that God has blessed each and every one of us by our presence here tonight, that this center is a center that is a soft place to land. It's a center where we honor all who are on their spiritual pathway, who practice their beliefs in faith and love. So I joyously receive and give thanks for the opportunity to be here, to know that this place has great value in the Granada Hills community, in the San Fernando Valley, in the city and county of Los Angeles, that we are here by right of consciousness, by divine appointment, that God is in the mix, all is well, as we say together, and so it is. All
And
righty
thank y'all
then.
all for
Good
joining
job.
us. I
Yay,
hope you come
thank
back.
you.
I love this place.
I know.